The look on your face and some of your hair is like,
So if the unclean spirit recognized Jesus as the Holy One of God, and I think it said somewhere there that he actually knew better who Jesus was than the listeners there.
Even in that stage 3 of the Gospel of Mark, Dave, he does the demon doesn't mean the unclean demon or the demon of uncleanliness, which could be called uncleanness as his name, does not mean I know who you are. You're the second eternal person of the Trinity, God from God, light from light, true God from true God. It means that he knows he's a shaman and he's in trouble.
I guess my point is, coming from that source, somebody with an unclean spirit, how could we today, when we think God's voice only is spoken through the Pope or the magisterium or what, that we might look for God's voice in people, and that,
So the Baltimore Catechism, which people love to, traditionalists and fundamentalists love to quote in the Catholic Church, right? The Baltimore Catechism says, where can you find God, or where can God be found? And it says everywhere. And then everything else in the Baltimore, that's like paragraph, I think 5 or 6, is one of the earliest paragraphs in the Baltimore Catechism. And then every subsequent paragraph after that, almost every, is a refutation, a repudiation of what it said in that paragraph. No, you can only find it here. So what we tried to reclaim in Vatican II is sacramentality, and this idea of both and, not either or. Yes, we need a pope and a shepherding authority of the church, a magisterium, to shepherd. I mean, we need, if you're, let's say you're not Catholic and you're a Christian that's not Catholic, yes, you need pastoral cover. We need good order in our communities, absolutely. What community exists without a hierarchy or order? And I'm sorry, to say a hierarchy, well, that's always patriarchal. I know that it's certainly marred by it, almost everywhere we find it. No, we find hierarchies among lobsters, ladies and gentlemen. Our common ancestor in evolution from lobsters is, what, 350 million years ago? So, no, this was not dreamed up by patriarchy. Okay, structure, hierarchy, and so forth. It's kind of hardwired into us. But we should hope that we would come into an awareness of compassion and also an openness to find God everywhere, not just inside the bounds of our tradition. So it's both and. That's the mystical awareness that we need to grow into without getting rid of one. That's the emergent church you were talking about earlier last week, I believe, which is a reformation that doesn't happen by abandoning our tradition in light for a new religious commitment, but rather opens the eyes in deep compassion to what is, even in the messiness. So sacramentality, it's so important for Catholics to find God everywhere. It doesn't mean you're going to find God the same intensity everywhere, but it means not reducing God to a quantity and only finding him in certain things and everywhere else there's no God. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah, if God is truly omnipresent, then obviously that's ridiculous. Yes, Joe?
Here's how I want to find him. I want to go outside and see it's raining and see a couple of clouds that start talking to me. Really? No,
That's intense.
only 2,000 years ago you can hear it. Today?
Now, Joe, no, it's not just 2,000 years ago. It's actually today in those cultures. Today in those cultures, Joe, you're misunderstanding what they're seeing.
I want to hear them like I hear you.
Right, I understand that. And the problem is you got a big handicap. You're American.
So what?
No, but that's the thing. You and I both have these handicaps, have these major impediments
I can't hear.
by our consensual reality to not fully live life because we're afraid of having experiencing anything that we can't fully control, understand, dominate. And so in order to experience that, it can happen because we have the same pan-human capabilities of all other cultures, but we have specific needing to be explained cultural impediments, mainstream white Americans, those who have bought in, I could say those who have bought in on whiteness, particularly males, have a major impediment, okay? this thing called whiteness,
That-
that we make other peoples that were formerly Latin, like Italians, buy over decades of living in the country. So what happens is, I'm saying that's half Italian. So, and Irish people, they buy in on the whiteness. They buy in on the, I'm in control, see? And so what that does is that shields, and it filters a lot of life out. It filters a lot of life out. So we have a psychological impediment to live a fully lived experience. Because of that, we are prevented from properly entering into alternate reality, where the healing comes from, where we see the world as it really is, where we make new discoveries by shutting off our cerebral cortex. So new associations can be made by God, and then we can go, wow, maybe I shouldn't hate those people. Maybe I should actually feel what those people are feeling. We're still capable of empathy, but it's very difficult for us.
Everybody in America is like that.
Like I said, in lower and greater intensities, but I would agree. So once you come over here, see, you kind of buy in on the ideas and the idolatries. Now, I'm not throwing it down the drain. I think there's a lot of good here. There's some good that the United States needs to teach the world, but there's a whole lot that we need to learn that we've forgotten. Yes?
I want to bring up something very controversial.
Sure. I just did a while ago, but that's fine. Let's keep going.
That is-
Why not?
That is when you were speaking about those who have contact with the spirit world, I was thinking about our Western world and how we consider that spiritual mediums, fortune tellers, those types of people that you could just drive down Oakland Park.
Unauthorized shamans.
Palm.
Right. We don't deal with those unauthorized shamans.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Right.
can we go a little comment on that kind of?
Yeah, you got you people. So right. Well, what are we talking about? When we talk about an authentic holy person, this is a person, right? What anthropologists call a shaman, who can traverse the world, the barriers between consensual reality. That's the world that we in a particular culture all agree on. We don't vote on it. We're born into it, kind of conditioned. Some would say brainwashed into it, and we all agree this is how the world is. It's our culture's interpretation of reality. And there's some truth there, meaning truth, like Aristotle, a relationship between real and mind, okay, between what is and mind. But it's limited. It's limited. Alternate reality, that's the world as it really is, apart from ideas. See? That's what we call God. Ultimate, holy, and absolute mystery, right? This is there. The consensus reality of ancient Israel was like in the top of the sky vault, and you get a taste of it through all the air around you. That's how they kind of tried to describe it and understand it, based on their honor-shame core values. We no longer see things that way through that cosmology. But all cultures produce holy persons, that is, persons that can contact alternate reality, interact with it, and barter favors from there. In Israel's tradition, there were authorized shaman, and then there were unauthorized shaman. They were authorized Zadik, and a Zadik or a Chazid. These would be authentic, and you have those among the prophets, people like Joseph, Jesus' father, not biological father, but not adopted either, father. And Jesus himself, John the Dunker, Peter, Paul are all they're all shamanic. They're all holy men. They're all righteous men that are able to do that. But there's other traditions too that have holy men and women, and they also can traverse the barriers. I know it sounds kind of weird. What the hell are you talking? Is this Dungeons and Dragons, Bill? Is this fucking Star Wars? No, I'm not talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about this is all well-researched cultural anthropology and neurobiology also, in terms of different states of consciousness. Yes, Stephanie?
What's the name of the woman who is on TV and she talks to dead people? You guys
Oh.
Long Island.
Yes, that one.
Teresa.
Okay, so what's that? Is that like
I'd be very wary of anybody on television. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'd be very wary of anybody who's a shaman, a shamanic figure going and I'd look for them among, if you're going to find them, I'd look for them among the humble, All right. But what I'm trying to say is that neurobiologically, anybody, I'm not saying it, I don't know the person. Neurobiologically, everybody potentially could be, because everybody has the same basic nervous system and brain, which seems to be hardwired through the sacrament of evolution to, sacrament with a small s, of evolution, to experience God, holy and absolute mystery, alternate reality, in 35 different states of consciousness. So, but when we mean a shamanic figure, this is somebody who can go there without the risk of being possessed, okay, and can have authority to broker favors. Don't we have this in our tradition with saints?
Oh, yeah.
You don't think Francis of Assisi was like this? You walk into a village and everybody, you see all the paintings of all the demons leaving the village. I mean, that might be a bit exaggerated, but that's an embellished, but that's an idea of it. Offering folk healing opportunities to people. Padre Pio is an example. And you don't think that's only limited to the baptized? No, come on, that's not only limited to the baptized. That's among all peoples on earth, except Americans.
Catherine Coolidge.
Catherine Coolidge. A whole bunch of people. Coleman Carroll?
Yeah.
Coolidge.
Yes.
Isn't that why
Her too. Yes, go ahead.
why we stand to gain so much from other religious traditions around
Absolutely.
the world where this is happening?
And also when you start getting fascinated with it, like Americans sometimes do, ooh, pop fascination with it, oh, I want to do it. Then Buddhism is a great corrective, right? We bring in the Buddha, who is said to have these gifts too, Gautama Siddhartha. He said, no, this is not, no. Better to come just into reality. Longer trances are better, those that turn off the mind and drop attachment desires. So it is beautiful. When you begin to dialogue with other faith traditions, you can see your own faith tradition and help its areas without being a syncretist, without saying it's all the same thing. It's not all the same thing. But also without being a competitor, like this is the NFL, and well, the Eagles have advanced to the NFL playoff game. No, that isn't what our religions and religious traditions should be seen as either. Okay? It should be seen as, wow, there's God, it can be found everywhere. Inside my tradition, it can also be found outside my tradition. And there are wonderful gifts other traditions have that maybe we have, or maybe we neglect, that maybe are very clear and crystallized. For instance, seeing suffering coming from attachment desires, addictions, not all desire, attachment desire, and that might be a problem. And then maybe that's a change in consciousness too, right? That we can, see, this is what I'm saying. Growing consciousness, growing awareness, but still having the tradition as a corrective to identify our roots, to never leave our foundation, because this is who we are, where we come from, but a roof that opens so that we can proceed into the world of love and understanding and healing. So that's the deal. It's not to get fascinated with this kind of thing, but it helps, the idea of ASCs help explain what dreams are, help us explain the world is full of meaning. We need to explore this because in our Western, science isn't the culprit, but scientism is. This idea that only truth comes from the sciences, and that which is very provable through sense experience. Through what sense experience? Through your culture's normative reality experiences? You got 34 plus more different states of consciousness to look at, and you're not exploring them. What's the matter with you? Why are you handicapped that way, Americans, Western people? So this is something to look at and to explore, because it can help us grow. It can help us better convey God to the world. Our world tends to be a world often devoid of meaning. I get cured, let's say, from a medical condition, and I'm left with nothing but a bill. I go in as a number, and I'm given a number at the end. No, I'm more than a number, folks, and so are you. Alternate states help awaken that without smoking anything, forcing those. Notice, Americans have drug problems. We have to force ourselves, Western people, to experience these things. No, you don't. We don't have to do that. But you can experience these states without smoking anything, doing anything dubious, drinking anything dubious, injecting anything dubious, doing drugs. That's horrible. No, we're talking about just experiencing them from your own neurobiology. If you come out of your ideas, metanoia, come out of our ideas. So that's what this anthropology is showing us. That's what these biblical scholars, like the context group of scholars, are showing us. And it's a way, again, of better seeing the incarnation. Are we, by looking at this study, denying that Jesus is truly God and truly human? No, on the contrary, no, we're not. We're actually saying Jesus is the most human being that ever lived precisely because he's God the Son. And therefore, we should expect him to live a very human life. But we're going to be shocked to find that's not really American. That the American life is not the ideal, perfect human life. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? That's not how most human beings live on earth. Anyone else?
You know what I thought was
Lucy.
interesting today? You know how we say, like, the Johannine Jesus group, how they were believing into Jesus? I found it interesting that Mark, when Mark first starts talking, he says, believe in the gospel. He doesn't come out like the Johannine Jesus group, where they were believing into Jesus. Like they already, it's like they knew, they learned, and then Mark is there talking about it later, and he starts off, he doesn't start out, like they have a hard time, like the way I see it, they have a hard time.
Which group has a hard time?
Mark
Yeah.
is having a hard time believing into Jesus, and this is something that, you know what I'm saying? He starts off with believe in the gospel. He doesn't come out and say believe into.
And what scholars say about that, Lucy, good eyes. Lucy with a, saying Lucy be proud of her namesake. See, here's the deal. The market community in that regard tends to be maybe more corresponding to the way it actually was. Discipleship and understanding Jesus takes a much longer time. Of course, it does also in John, because many times the disciples don't get Jesus. But yeah, it's different. Because one is suited to the stage 3 of the Johannine community, which is already, we're not evangelizing anymore. We're all about further embedding ourselves ever more in what we already believe, continue to believe. Whereas in Mark, there isn't still an impetus to evangelize and bring new members into the fold. And we're still open, we're still okay with the world. Right? We're not, because the market community is not an anti-society. But John's is. And what happened to John's community? Well, that's a warning. That's a warning. Excellent. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.